Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 3 ways self-criticism hinders your fitness results and what to do instead. So my name is Lana Osborne-Parody from Blast Fitness with Lana. If you are just logging on, welcome. I am hopping back and forth between Facebook and Instagram, which is why you're going to see me looking at a few different places as we're chatting. So what we're talking about today is really a mindset topic. So I myself and most of my clients have dealt with a little bit of self-criticism along the way. And it's a big hill to overcome on our journey to looking for consistent, regular health and fitness results. So what I mean by that is if you're the type of person who has an on again or off again relationship with fitness or with healthy eating or that sort of thing, and you're the type of person who does really well for a number of weeks or days or even months and then kind of falls off the wagon, that is the definition of on again and off again fitness results, or fitness or relationship with fitness. And I was one of those people for a really long time. Even though I was teaching tons of fitness classes and training clients all day, I didn't have a consistent relationship with exercise and with eating well because of many of the reasons that we're going to talk about today, namely self-criticism. So this is kind of a funny thing because we think that being self-critical is the type of thing that's going to help us get more results. So lots of my clients will say to me, I know what I need to do. I just need to be harder on myself. I need to be more intense. I need to be more committed. I need more accountability. I just need to be harder on myself and try more and try harder. And this is coming from women who are, pretty motivated, very capable, high functioning women. And they're telling me that they need to be more of what they already are. So usually the answer is we don't need to be more critical of ourselves or more hard on ourselves. We actually need the opposite. So what we're going to do today is talk about 3 ways that self-criticism is hindering your fitness results, and then 3 take-home of what you can do instead. So I've used all of these tools for myself personally and with many of my clients, and the goal of moving from sort of the model of self-criticism or like berating ourselves or being really hard on ourselves or beating ourselves up for not doing things perfectly, we're moving away from that into more of a self-compassionate, understanding model with the goal of being more consistent and regular with our eating and exercising habits so that we're going to get better results. So that's the goal. The goal isn't just being nicer to yourself. That's obviously a great outcome anyways. But the goal is to actually give self-criticism some time on the back burner so that we can bring the self-love, self-compassion, self-understanding piece up front and actually use it to get better results. That's the goal. Okay. So the first way that self-criticism is negatively affecting your fitness results is that we think that when we're more self-critical or when we're harsher on ourselves or we kind of beat ourselves up more, do that kind of negative self-talk thing, we think that it makes us more accountable, right? We maybe have a day where we don't eat super well or we miss a workout or whatever, and then our mind kind of starts going like, oh, I can't believe I missed a workout again. Like, this is why I'm never seeing results. Da, 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 da. And that kind of roll through the mind keeps going of negative self-talk. And we think that doing this is going to make us more accountable in the future. So we think if I kind of beat myself up and I get angry at myself and, I kind of give myself a little bit of like negative criticism sort of thing, it's going to help me do better in the future. And the answer is it doesn't. So most of my clients and myself, if we've experienced self-criticism and we're in this pattern of, not doing what we know we should do or know we want to do, if we're in the pattern of not doing it because life gets busy, we don't have enough priorities, we haven't planned ahead, all of these, we're stressed out, all of these sorts of things, and then we beat ourselves up for it, do we actually act different the next day or the day after? And the answer is usually no. Usually we end up experiencing more stress and we don't actually behave different. So the self-criticism doesn't actually cause us to change our behavior. We don't act differently. So that is one example where self-criticism is not actually doing what we think it is going to do, right? It's actually having a negative effect instead of a positive effect. It's not actually causing us to do things differently. So what do we try instead? We try external accountability. So this works really well for the members of my Blast Fitness Lifestyle Club. We do external accountability a couple times a week. Sometimes I offer prizes, and you can also do this with your friends, or if you have a gym buddy or a personal trainer, or someone that you kind of check in with regularly. You can even kind of do this on social media. I do it lots of times if I'm like, hey, I'm practicing my pull-ups, these are my progressions, and then I'll post a little video every week with the idea that you guys know I'm working on pull-ups, and then I know that I am telling other people, and it helps me be more motivated. So I find external accountability is significantly better in terms of getting fitness results than self-criticism, right? So being hard on myself or beating myself up, that sort of thing, with the hope that I'm going to get better fitness results, doesn't work very well. But if I have a little bit of external accountability, especially from a supportive, understanding, cheerleading group of people, whether it's your friends, your trainer, people you know at the gym, or just your like little social media community of your friends and family, that's an excellent alternative. This brings us to point number 2 of why self-criticism is hindering or holding us back from seeing results from our fitness goals. And that is that self-talk matters. So words aren't harmful. So if we're repeatedly berating ourselves or beating ourselves up or being extremely self-critical, the cost is to our self-esteem. And self-esteem is one of the biggest predictors of if we'll be able to actually do positive, healthy things for our own self-care. If we have really low self-esteem, we're much less likely to get to bed at an early hour, get our workouts in because we know they make us feel good, eat really well because we know it's going to give us a lot more energy, balanced energy levels throughout the day. Obviously, we know that these activities give us fitness results too. And when my clients have these goals, if their self-esteem is really low for whatever reason, stuff going on in their life, or this habit of self-criticism or negative self-talk that we know is not harmful, we know it negatively affects our self-esteem, one of the fastest ways to turn that around is to take out this piece of being extremely self-critical, or take out this piece of this negative self-talk, like, oh, this, like, I'm so disgusting, or I can't believe I look this way, or that is negative self-talk. That is a specific example of negative self-talk. So if it's too big of a jump for us to just get rid of the negative self-talk, one thing we can do is we can move to neutral self-talk. So we don't have to look at ourselves in the mirror the next day and say, oh my gosh, I'm the most beautiful person ever, if that feels really inauthentic or really untrue for us, but we can do neutral. So if negative is like, oh, really beating ourselves up or picking ourselves apart or looking at one body part specifically and saying, this is my trouble issue or this is my problem, can we take that negative piece out and put neutral in? Like, my body is good. My body's okay. Everything is fine. And so we go from negative to neutral with the hope that over time we're going to get to more positive, because it's not about being all positive or all negative. It's that nice balance of a little bit of both, and hopefully a lot of neutral. So this is the issue with negative self-talk, is that if we do this day after day, month after month, year after year, and we're beating ourselves up, we're being extremely self-critical, we've realized in point number 1, it's actually not making us behave any different. It's like, how's that working for you? It didn't work very well for me. For me, it just made everything significantly more stressful, and my results weren't better when I was beating myself up. I was just more stressed. So, which is point number 2, we recognize that self-talk matters. How we talk to ourselves really matters for our self-esteem. If we're cutting down our self-esteem over and over and over again, we can't expect that we're going to act better and take better care of ourselves, because that's not how it works. Self-esteem and our self-belief is the way that we treat ourselves better, and then act better and do healthier behaviors on the regular. So this brings us to point number 3, which of our 3 ways that self-criticism is negatively affecting our fitness results. And that is the lens of self-criticism. So when we're acting regularly in a very self-critical way, or we're actively kind of cutting ourselves down and beating ourselves up, that lens of self-criticism that we may be living our lives, especially our fitness and health lives with, that lens prevents us from celebrating our small wins. And our small wins are really, really important, especially when you're committed to a sustainable, healthy, consistent change in your eating and exercising habits, because the wins aren't going to come quickly. They're going to come slowly. They're going to come after weeks of practice, after weeks of showing up and doing your workouts, after weeks of cooking yourself a healthy breakfast, after weeks of getting into bed at a reasonable hour, which is definitely my biggest challenge in life. Night owl team for life. So when we're overly critical and we're comparing ourselves to others, it's really hard for us to acknowledge these small wins. So what kind of small wins? Like things like, noticing a little bit more muscle definition on your arms because you've been doing tons of rows and push-ups and overhead presses and lat pull downs, that sort of thing. Or being able to do a couple more push-ups from your toes, right? These little tiny shifts and changes and small wins, we need to celebrate those things, because remember point number 2, that helps to build up our self-belief, build up our self-esteem. And when that self-esteem muscle is really strong and stoked on a regular basis, we are going to be able to do these positive health-inducing behaviors and actions day after day. So celebrate those small wins rather than comparing yourself or your fitness results to your best friend or random strangers on the internet. Compare yourself to yourself. Are you doing a little bit better? Even if you're not seeing the physical results that you're craving yet, are you having more energy? Are you sleeping better? Are you able to do more push-ups from your toes? Like, what are those specific small wins that you're seeing? And don't minimize them. They're really important, because when you start to celebrate these small wins, literally be your own biggest cheerleader and be like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I did one more push-up for my toes today, or I tried push-ups for my toes today. Or, I'm seeing a little bit more muscle definition in my shoulders, or whatever it is, whatever those small wins are. When you're celebrating them consistently and boosting up that self-esteem and self-belief muscle, you're going to be able to continue this positive snowball effect of motivation, which is what we really need in order to be consistent and regular and show up with our workouts and our healthy eating strategies, all the things that we know. All of this information is stuff that we probably already know, but we're not just putting it into action. And we think being self-critical, being hard on ourselves, berating ourselves, kind of like picking ourselves apart, kind of like perfectionist behavior, we think that that's what we need in order to be more consistent, but it's not, right? So we just covered those 3 ways of why it isn't helpful. Number 1, it's not making us more accountable. It's not like us beating ourselves up is not actually changing our actions. So try external accountability from a supportive group of friends, family, random strangers on the internet. That works too. Point number 2 was negative self-talk doesn't come without a cost. It comes at a cost to our self-esteem. So what we need to do is try to move that negative self-talk towards neutral self-talk, right? It doesn't need to be positive all the way, right? Be your own cheerleader. Don't over positive yourself if it feels inauthentic, but do take away some of that negative beating yourself up talk and be like, I really did try to make priorities for today. I really did pack my healthy lunch and then left it on the counter as I was going to work. I made a commitment to do my workout and then a meeting got scheduled. You have to recognize those attempts. They are really important. That stuff buffers up your self-esteem, and then you're going to continue trying, and over time you're actually going to be able to execute those workouts and healthy eating behavior over and over. And then finally, our 3rd way that self-criticism hinders our fitness results and what you should do about it is recognizing that self-criticism prevents us from seeing those small wins, and those small wins like little bits of muscle definition. I'm not talking about like tens of pounds lost on the scale. I'm not talking about dropping 2 sizes in your pants. I'm literally talking about the small wins that are almost so small that they're hard to measure, right? Little bits of muscle definition that you can see, just feeling stronger, feeling like you've got more energy, feeling like you want to do your workouts because they're getting a little bit easier, feeling like you can do one more push-up, or your lunges are feeling a little bit easier. Those small wins. If we're being really self-critical and we're living in that headspace, it's super tough to celebrate the small wins. If we don't celebrate the small wins, we don't boost up our self-esteem and our self-belief. If we don't boost up our self-esteem and self-belief, we fall back into this pattern, this treadmill of negative self-talk, which doesn't actually cause us to act differently. So the antidote to self-criticism, if you're like me and you're the type of person who tends to be a little bit on the perfectionist spectrum, and you are hard on yourself, and you do have, high expectations of yourself, but you fall into this pattern of being self-critical, which you now know is not helpful. The antidote to that is self-compassion. So giving yourselves a little bit of understanding, giving yourselves some compassion instead of the beating up of yourself. Because what it's going to do is it's going to help you to be more understanding. It's going to help you to try to make better strategies that work better in your life. It's going to help you to be more consistent, and it will be significantly less stressful when this process of getting stronger, fitter, eating better, working out more regularly, when you're committed to this process in a way that you're not, beating yourself up all the time and kind of hustling for your love, acceptance, belonging. If you're just giving that to yourself because you know that you're worth it anyways, then this entire process becomes significantly less stressful. When it becomes less stressful, we do it more regularly. When we do it more regularly, we see more results. So you can see it's this feed-forward cycle that when we start to remove the self-criticism or being really harsh on ourselves, that is often one of the first steps to being more consistent. And when you're more consistent, you see better results. And when you see better results, you believe that your actions are actually making a difference in your life because they are. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope that there's some fellow self-criticism people listening to this, and that this will give you a little bit of information and some take-home doable strategies and tools to change your negative self-talk so that you're getting a little bit more out of your fitness pursuits and your healthy eating attempts. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.